Tonight on Fox 45 News at 10.
What I'm asking for is that I be tried right now.
After multiple demands for a speedy trial, 2 delays, and now a new twist. Marilyn Mosby requests to move her trial out of Baltimore. Legal experts weigh in why this latest move could backfire. One shooting after another all over the city. Details from a violent morning in Harbor East and a deadly night in West Baltimore. The gun violence comes as a new poll finds a majority of Americans blame so-called woke politicians for crime surges. Fox 45 News re-examines city and state policies tonight at 10.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 10.
Good evening, I'm Kai Jackson.
And I'm Rielle Creighton. A bloody start to another weekend. Shots ringing out in at least a half a dozen places. At least 2 more people have lost their lives.
Well, some people point to soft crime policies as a green light for violent offenders. Our team of reporters looks into that discussion at all levels of government.
But we begin tonight with another twist in the trial of City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby, pushing to have her case completely moved out of the city.
To think that Ms. Mosby's team would like to leave this court, this judge, given that this judge has been very fair from what we can see publicly to both sides. So it's certainly a gamble.
Fox 45's Jeff Abel has been following the potential fallout from this request and joins us live now with how the trial progresses from this point. Jeff?
Well, you know, after months of preparing for this trial, some legal experts tonight are predicting it will be a hard sell, convincing a federal judge to move this case out of Baltimore City. The ink had barely dried on the indictment before Marilyn Mosby was demanding a speedy trial.
What I'm asking for is that I be tried right now.
Oh, we're pushing for trial.
Because I know that I'm innocent. So I'm ready to go to trial tomorrow.
In 70 days.
But now, more than 200 days later, Marilyn Mosby has yet to stand trial. A flurry of motions has twice postponed the trial. And now Mosby's defense team is asking the trial be moved out of Baltimore altogether.
Is it strategic? Certainly it's strategic.
Mosby's request for a change of venue is still under seal. It's unclear why her defense team wants to move the case out of Baltimore. But previously, her defense team has argued that local media coverage has already prejudiced potential jurors, even though the state's attorney has appeared on national media discussing the case.
To turn around and say, well, the media is not giving me a fair trial when you're the one that's seeking all the publicity is a very, very hard uphill battle.
It's unclear where Mosby's defense team wants the trial to be held. If the federal judge agrees that she can't receive a fair trial in Baltimore, it could be moved out of state or to Maryland's only other federal courthouse in Greenbelt.
Most of the jurors very likely will come from Prince George's County, people of color. So perhaps her defense team may believe they'll get a more favorable jury pool in the Southern District of Maryland.
I don't know that she's necessarily going to get a jury that's more favorable to her. They certainly would not be as familiar with the facts of the case.
While the court waits to hear from prosecutors, it's the federal judge who will have the final say.
To think that Ms. Mosby's team would like to leave this court, this judge, given that this judge has been very fair from what we can see publicly to both sides. So it's certainly a gamble.
Well, prosecutors have 2 more weeks to respond to this request. As it stands now, the trial set to begin March 27 here in Baltimore. We are live tonight. Jeff Abel, Fox 45 News.
Jeff, thank you. And as Jeff mentioned, the trial begins March 27th. Before that, there will be 2 hearings in January discussing motions and deadlines. There will also be a pretrial hearing on March 7th. Jury selection is scheduled for March 23rd and 24th. Fox 45 will let you know the outcome of the change of venue request.
New tonight, police have identified the man wanted in the murder of an MTA bus driver, Elaine Jackson. Police shared a picture of Leon Douglas Hill, who is accused of shooting and killing Jackson at the MTA Bush facility, the bus depot in southwest Baltimore, Tuesday night. Police are asking for the public's help, urging anyone who knows where he might be to please let them know. We have his picture on foxbaltimore.com so that you can share it.
At least 2 people are dead after 6 shootings in Baltimore. Deadly shootings happened along Calhoun Street and Magnolia Avenue. On your right, the scene along Greenspring Avenue near Druid Hill Park. You can see the bullet holes in a car. A driver survived despite being shot multiple times, according to police. And new information on that Calhoun Street shooting. Officers say they found a man inside the car who had been shot multiple times. He was rushed to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. Anyone with information on any of these crimes is asked to call police or Metro Crime Stoppers.
The first shooting today started with what police described as an attempted shoplifting at the CVS in Harbor East this morning. Police say that a man with a syringe attacked a security guard, When he confronted him. Alexa Ashwell has more on that chaotic scene at the pharmacy coming up at 10:30.
A recent poll has reignited the debate over how politics influences crime. We have team coverage tonight as Maxine Stryker looks at the crime-fighting proposals that didn't pass in Annapolis.
Scott Thuman takes the issue to a national level and why other factors may be at play in certain cities.
We begin with Olivia Dance providing context on the polling results and how crime policies could be shaping Baltimore's violence.
A new Harvard study, a wake-up call for those running for office as Election Day fastly approaches. The wake-up call about wokeism, finding 64% of Americans blaming woke politicians for the rise in crime.
Neighborhoods that are just not where they should be.
The study catching the eye of Governor Hogan, tweeting, "Few ideas have been more destructive in recent years than the nonsense of defund the police." He goes on to say we must begin reversing the damage by electing pro-law enforcement leaders. Baltimore City, among many American cities, seeing a spike in crime. Homicides, shootings, carjackings, pick a category, all on an unsustainable trajectory upwards.
Crime is still alarmingly high in Baltimore.
Former BPD Deputy Commissioner Jason Johnson says it's policies impacting policing that's leading to the bloodshed. Policies such as State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby not going after low-level offenses, or that of Mayor Brandon Scott not allowing police to arrest squeegee kids.
The hands-off approach doesn't work, hasn't worked. And, we can be hopeful. We've got a state's attorney coming in now in Ivan Bates that has made it clear that he intends to restore actual law enforcement.
Johnson also says these policies have decimated the police department.
And Mayor Scott could turn this around just by changing his rhetoric, and so could the leadership of the police department.
To combat the shortage of officers, in August, the Baltimore Police Department rolled out several incentives, including $5,000 sign-on bonuses and $60,000 starting salaries. Since then, officer vacancies only worsening from 392 openings to 420.
That's going to be an evolutionary process.
Local law enforcement expert and former FBI agent Tyrone Powers says he's not surprised and doesn't think staffing will improve anytime soon.
Then you have to put people through the process, the vetting process, to get them into an academy class, to get them onto the street. So unfortunately, the fact that we're down police officers, the fact that some police officers are still retiring or still leaving the police department is going to be problematic, probably at least into the next year, to 2023, maybe into the fall of 2023.
A spokesperson for BPD says they are focusing on recruiting and currently have 175 candidates in the background investigation stage and 67 recruits in the police academy.
There is a direct relationship between the staffing on the police department and the level of crime that you see in the streets. We're at a point now, I think, where it's critical that they slowly turn that number around and turn a negative number month over month into a positive number month over month.
At least for now, as crime continues climbing, the number of crime fighters is falling. Reporting in Baltimore, I'm Olivia Dance, Fox 45 News.
Well, Fox 45 has seen several pushes for stronger crime policy out of Annapolis, many waved away by lawmakers taking a more progressive approach.
Maxine Stryker looks into Governor Hogan's unsuccessful attempts at firm crime laws.
I don't think there's any doubt that politics has made its way into the criminal justice system on so many levels.
Maryland has struggled for years to pass laws some would bill tough on crime. The legislation routinely receiving pushback in Annapolis. Republican Senator Bob Castle told us earlier this year the tug of war between those looking to be tough on crime and those not is only growing more contentious. The Violent Firearms Offender Act, aimed to crack down on criminals who use guns, has been introduced several times without success, failing to become law again this year.
Really, for the last couple years, everything's been at a standstill.
Political analyst John Deedy says the legislation introduced by Governor Larry Hogan may never have stood a chance with lawmakers at ideological odds.
In many ways, in Annapolis, it became more of a political battle. Okay, if the governor wants these things, we know what we don't want, and it's the things the governor wants.
Then there was the repeal of the Law Enforcement Officers' Bill of Rights. Democratic lawmakers overrode Governor Larry Hogan's veto to enact significant police reforms, including upping the civil liability police officers can face in lawsuits and raising the penalty for use of excessive force. Harford County Sheriff Jeffrey Gaylor said it sets a dangerous precedent.
To be clear, no one wants bad police officers on their force or on our streets. To be equally as clear, the processes, tools, and laws already exist to allow police leadership to fire those officers who should not be in service to our communities. Stripping away a proven due process system is not police reform.
Betsy Smith with the National Police Association says woke politics have led to the vilification of law enforcement.
As the state continues to see record violent crime, the attacks on law enforcement in the legislature and throughout the state it continue to be increasingly frustrating for law enforcement.
And Smith says communities are suffering as a result.
You know who's paying for it? It's the people of the state of Maryland who are paying for it.
We reached out to all of the members of Baltimore City's delegation, where homicides are on pace to pass 300 for another year, asking, do you think you've held criminals accountable or emboldened criminals with legislation you have or have not supported in the past? How do you plan to address crime and the rising homicide numbers in Baltimore City in the next session? And do you think it will take a tougher approach to address the crime crisis? Deedy says it's time our elected leaders wake up and focus on what's really important.
A lot of times the people in Annapolis have worried about the silly things, such as worrying about, let's deal with the crime issue by dealing with strippers on the block, instead of focusing on something like, oh, there's a problem with guns or there's a problem with other aspects of public safety. We need more police on the ground. We need to do a better job of focusing on enforcing law enforcement.
Maxine Stryker, Fox 45 News.
That brings us to our question of the day. Do you blame, quote, woke politicians for the recent rise in crime? So far, 95% of those who voted say yes. Go to foxbaltimore.com/vote to make your voice heard.
Next on Fox 45 News at 10, new video, more fights emerging from Baltimore County schools. One family says their 5-year-old girl is a victim. Coming up, a mother's demand for justice. The federal government will soon stop paying for COVID-19 vaccines. One pharma giant sets the price point, just how much it'll cost for future shots.
After a few dry days, rain is coming back this weekend. I'll break down the timing and impacts to your weekend plans.
A Purple Friday disappointment. Ravens star running back J.K. Dobbins needs another knee surgery. Why there's hope he will still have an impact this season. Coming up.
Fox 45 News, winner of 17 2022 Regional Emmy Awards, more than all other Baltimore news stations combined.
Tonight, there's new alarm as another school fight video emerges, reportedly taken outside of a Baltimore County elementary school.
And this time, that recording, which once again was passed around on social media, shows a girl as young as 5 years old being attacked. Well, tonight, that victim's mother is speaking to me on school violence. Silent but vicious videos surfacing on social media. A mother telling us by phone those are her daughters, just 5 and 11 years old, being dragged and beaten.
Grabbed her by her hair and threw her down and started beating her head in.
Kayla Shiflett says her 11-year-old suffered a mild concussion. Her 5-year-old pushed to the ground in an unprovoked attack by 2 girls who both attend different schools, one of them in middle school, the other high school. Shiflett says who showed up to her kindergartner's building, Grange Elementary, 2 weeks ago. Her children both beaten and humiliated.
Every kid in the middle school knew about it the next day because they videoed it, posted on Instagram and TikTok. Any kid can go to any school and just beat up anybody and nothing can be done.
A mother outraged, believing this is part of a pattern of ongoing fighting happening in county schools. She says she was told by administrators due to privacy, any disciplinary action taken against the girls who assaulted her daughters can't be revealed.
We are taking action.
Baltimore County Superintendent Dr. Darrell Williams, along with other top education officials, holding a town hall earlier this month to discuss the steps they say they have taken to combat violence and refute claims students are not being disciplined.
The fact that I couldn't protect her or be that person and make sure she was okay, and that it's just not fair.
Shiflett says she wants to know exactly how the kids who beat up her little girls will be held accountable.
I want justice for my daughter. I want her to feel like she's safe.
Well, violence has plagued Maryland schools to start this year. A student shot and killed at Merville High School in Baltimore City during dismissal after the first week of classes. A student at another school was arrested. Also at Merville High School, a parent arrested after police said that they got into a fight with students in the school. That parent allegedly let in through an unauthorized door. And earlier this month in Timonium, a concerned mother came to Fox 45 News saying that her daughter was beaten up by a group of students. That mother didn't want that video shared over concerns of retaliation against her daughter.
Please join our next Your Voice, Your Future town hall at Huber Memorial Church on Lockraven Boulevard. It happens this Monday, October 24th at 6:30 p.m. The subject revolves around young people in crime and whether the answer lies in the church. Maryland's congressional delegation is urging Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg to approve grants from the bipartisan infrastructure bill to redevelop Baltimore's Highway to Nowhere. The city hopes to jumpstart the revitalization effort. The Highway to Nowhere is a section of US 40 running from West Baltimore's Mark Station to Green Street. It was supposed to go all the way to I-70 in the 1970s. Nearly 1,000 homes in a predominantly black neighborhood were razed for that project, permanently dividing a once connected, busy and vibrant neighborhood.
Topping your health headlines, the Maryland Department of Health is confirming the state's first monkeypox death. It is one of only 5 monkeypox-related deaths nationwide to this point. Health officials say that person was immunocompromised, resulting in a more severe case.
Now, this comes as the health department continues a push for people to get the monkeypox vaccine. State leaders say nearly 700 Marylanders have contracted the virus. Baltimore City launched its first vaccination clinic this week.
So I want to be clear, anyone can contract this disease. What we have seen in this particular outbreak here in the U.S. is that there are groups that are higher risk, specifically men who have sex with men. However, what we see with the CDC expanding their eligibility criteria is that many people are at risk. If you're coming in close contact with multiple sexual partners or unidentified sexual partners and you're uncertain of their history, you are considered to now be in that eligibility criteria.
Vaccines are available by appointment only. Those who have pre-registered will get an email from the city letting them know when they can access the clinic. If you'd like to register, go to health.baltimorecity.gov.
And Pfizer will start charging people for a dose of its COVID vaccine once the government stops buying the shots. Pfizer executives say that the price will range from $110 to $130, and charging could start early next year. The drug maker expects no cost for people with private health insurance or public coverage like Medicare and Medicaid. They'll be more expensive than annual flu shots, which range from about $50 to $90 a dose.
Another roadblock for President Biden's student loan forgiveness initiative, why federal courts are getting involved.
Less than 48 hours away from a huge game between the Ravens and the Browns, but Lamar Jackson may be without one of his biggest weapons. Rocco DeSangro is standing by with the latest.
It's been a very nice day with temperatures reaching the 60s, but it gets even warmer tomorrow. First, we have another cool night with temperatures falling to the upper 30s and the low 40s. Western Maryland especially could be waking up to frosty conditions, but we warm up to the 70s. I'll let you know what else you can expect for the weekend along with rain chances coming up in my Weather Authority forecast.
All right, let's go live now to M&T Bank Stadium ahead of a divisional showdown Sunday afternoon between the Ravens and the Browns.
That's right. The Ravens are looking to stay perfect in the division, but they'll be without one of their top offensive players.
Now, Rocco DeSangro here with more on the injury report. Rocco.
Yeah, Kai Riel, some not so great news on the injury front. Not only has J.K. Dobbins been ruled out of Sunday's game against the Browns, he's expected to miss around 4 to 6 weeks, according to reports. Adam Schefter of ESPN is reporting that Dobbins will undergo arthroscopic knee surgery next week, causing him to miss a significant amount of time. Dobbins just returned from a torn ACL that caused him to miss the entire 2021 season. Returned to the field week 3. Everything was trending in the right direction, but last Sunday against the Giants, Dobbins played in the first half, but didn't see any time in the second half because his knee tightened up. That 4 to 6 week timetable would open the door for Dobbins to return in late November to early December. In that time frame, Justice Hill, he's now healthy, so expect him and Kenyon Drake to get the bulk of the carries.
All right, it is Purple Friday, and look at that, which means you're sharing your favorite Raven submissions on Chime In, and it is never too early to become a fan, right? Check out adorable baby TJ, already rocking his Lamar Jackson jersey. How about Landon, bringing some Halloween flair to Purple Friday with his creative face paint? We want to see how you're getting ready for game day. Send us those photos and videos through the Chime In tab at foxbaltimore.com or the WBFF app.
And it's a packed slate of football this weekend on Fox 45. First, join us tomorrow for Big Noon Kickoff. Number 2 Ohio State hosts Iowa. Coverage starts at 10 a.m. And stay with us for an NFL doubleheader on Sunday. First, it's the Green Bay Packers and Washington Commanders at 1 p.m. Then the Kansas City Chiefs take on the San Francisco 49ers at 4:25. Catch all the action right here on Fox 45.
A shoplifting attempt turns violent in downtown Baltimore. Coming up, the hectic moments as police say a man with a syringe attacks a security guard.
The countdown to Election Day is on, but Baltimore City and Baltimore County are struggling to find poll workers. How leaders are trying to incentivize that position.
Democrats and Republicans actually seeing eye to eye on crime and politics. I'm Scott Thuman in Washington with a look at how much that could matter these midterms.
Our top story at 10:30 tonight, violence rocks Harbor East as a reported shoplifting case results in shots fired at a CVS.
Well, police say a man with a syringe tried to attack a security guard who responded by firing at the suspect. Alexa Ashwell walks us through the timeline.
The CVS here in Harbor East still closed. What happened, this shooting, still very much on the minds of those who live and work in this area, an area that typically sees little to no violence.
Crime tape, evidence markers, and a community in shock.
I'm really shocked, yeah.
Baltimore police surround this CVS on Exeter Street in Harbor East after investigators say a shoplifting suspect was shot in the face by one of the pharmacy's security guards. Signs of a scuffle could be seen inside the store's foyer, as well as just outside the front doors on the sidewalk.
It's just so many people, I believe, and just unhinged. I don't know another word to use. Just completely unhinged.
Investigators say the security guard was attempting to stop the shoplifter from leaving the pharmacy with the stolen merchandise when the suspect pulled out a syringe and tried to stab him with it. The guard then pulling out his weapon, police say, and firing, shooting the suspect in the face.
Usually you don't see that around here.
He was rushed to an area hospital in critical condition.
Well, I'm an infectious disease doctor, and it used to be when AIDS was first out, that people would come in the street and they would say, if you don't give me your money and watch and everything, I'm going to stab you with this HIV-contaminated syringe. So I'm very sympathetic to that.
In this case, it's unclear what, if anything, was inside the syringe. Police not yet saying if the guard was also hurt. As crime scene techs collected evidence, those who live and work here in Harbor East shocked by the violence happening here.
I live right around the block, so it makes you worried.
That just instills fear that's already in the community. I come to the Harbor East because this is the fancy one, like I said. And so now I'm like, oh God, really?
You can see the closed sign here outside of the CVS. Baltimore police have not yet said if any charges will be filed. The suspect was last listed in critical condition. The investigation ongoing. Reporting in Harbor East, Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
A new report from Maryland's legislative auditor claims that the Office of Baltimore's circuit court clerk has failed to collect millions of dollars in legal fees. That report states that as of June of 2021, nearly $13 million in criminal court fees were outstanding, including more than $7 million from cases dating all the way back to 1961. The circuit court clerk says that they'll try to collect as many fees as possible, but they're asking for fines from cases prior to 2007 to be removed.
A Baltimore County man has been arrested in South Carolina, wanted on 11 warrants dating back to the 1980s. Thomas James Brackett faces 6 charges of sex crimes against minors. Police say he's been serving as a pastor in South Carolina for the past several years. He was a pastor in Maryland at Tabernacle Christian Church in the 1980s. He's currently in a South Carolina prison waiting to be extradited to Maryland.
A new Harvard-Harris poll cited by Governor Larry Hogan this week claims that 64% of Americans are pinning a rise in crime on so-called woke politicians. It's a message that's not really resonating with some of the people of Baltimore.
There's good and bad people everywhere, and there are complexities to every issue. So again, reducing something to one word is more problematic.
I don't think he should use his platform to say things like that.
In a rare bipartisan agreement, Democrats and Republicans, though, believe that crime is out of control across the country.
The question is, how will this push for stronger police impact midterm elections? Chief Political Correspondent Scott Thuman explains.
Will what's happening on these streets determine who controls offices from Congress to state houses to City Hall? Safety has become a blanket talking point for candidates across the country.
Our communities are less safe today because we have fewer police on our streets.
I'm absolutely not pro-crime. I run on my record on crime.
According to a Harvard-Harris poll, voters believe it is still overwhelmingly on the rise, and a majority of Republicans, Democrats, and independents blame so-called woke politicians more than anything else. The police murder of George Floyd in 2020 triggered demands across the country to defund police. The Minneapolis City Council pushed to cut funding. Citizens eventually voted to overrule them. But it gave many, especially Republicans, a chance to label more liberal politicians as being soft on crime.
Doesn't mean that we can turn away from the need for sensible reforms, for hopefully evidence-based reforms. We should be trying to improve policing constantly, but that pendulum has swung.
In New York, many blame the spike in violence on another policy, cashless bail, endorsed by many on the left to prevent jail overcrowding and not punish the poor. The state's attorney general says she's now considering amending that law.
You've had people murdered throughout New York State who were murdered by people released on cashless bail.
There have been course corrections. Minneapolis voted just this week to add social workers to the force, who eventually could free up officers unqualified to handle mental health situations to deal with more traditional 911 calls. And while the economy still understandably receives the lion's share of attention from voters, some calling crime the sleeper issue that could tilt an election. At the Capitol Hill Bureau, Scott Thuman, Fox 45 News.
In Baltimore, the $550 million police budget was slashed by $24 million in fiscal year 2021 after backlash from protesters, but that money came back, and in 2022, the police budget jumped by $29 million. Mayor Brandon Scott says that increase was needed to cover health insurance and pension commitments. And in the current fiscal year, the budget went up again, nearly $5 million.
Former President Donald Trump now formally subpoenaed and called to Capitol Hill to answer questions about the January 6th attacks. 10 pages sent to the former president demanding he appear before the committee either in person or by video conference on November 14th. The committee is also requesting Trump turn over communications with members of his inner circle, focusing on the 3 weeks leading up to January 6th. Trump could face legal penalty if he does not testify. Meantime, earlier this afternoon, former Trump advisor Steve Bannon was sentenced to 4 months in prison for defying a similar subpoena to testify in front of the committee. Bannon won't go to prison right away. He has until next month to file an appeal. He's also set to go on trial in New York over fraud charges surrounding donations to a possible border wall.
New tonight, a federal court has issued a stay to block President Biden's plan to eliminate billions of dollars in student loan debt, while challengers appeal yesterday's ruling to reject their case. The president is standing by his plan, saying that it's already open and is an easy access process, taking less than 5 minutes.
My commitment when I ran for president of the United States, that if I was elected, I'd make the government work and deliver for the people. A simple application process keeps that commitment, just as I'm keeping my commitment to relieve student debt as borrowers recover from the economic crisis caused by the once-in-a-lifetime pandemic.
Republican lawmakers argue the president overstepped his authority by forgiving up to $20,000 per person in student loan debts for people making less than $250,000 a year. The White House says 22 million people have applied for relief since the application website launched.
Well, Election Day only 2.5 weeks out, but some local jurisdictions are still scrambling to find poll workers. Both Baltimore City and County are actively looking to hire elections judges. The county advertises it as an opportunity to earn extra cash. Baltimore City is about 1,000 judges short. They're offering to pay up to $275 for people to work the polls.
Election judges have been hard to recruit ever since the pandemic. We are still hard at work trying to recruit judges. We are still training judges. We do the very best that we can with what we have in our hand to work with.
So the city is also struggling to train its election workers. The election director says 60 people were scheduled to come in for a training on Wednesday, but only 10 showed up.
Washington, D.C.'s mayor is weighing whether she'll sign a bill allowing non-citizens in the country to vote in city races, regardless of whether they're here legally. Tom Rousey from our Sinclair sister station in Washington, D.C. shares why some support the move and others have concerns.
This bill is in line with our D.C. values and this council's history of expanding the right to vote.
First 2 weeks ago, and then again this week in a required second vote, the D.C. Council passed a measure allowing non-citizens to vote in local elections, such as for mayor. The bill does not distinguish between those legally in the U.S. and those without permission to be here.
The U.S. Constitution does not require a person to be a citizen in order to vote.
We're offering the opportunity for more people that are affected by the decisions of our legislators to have a voice in the process.
Juan Ulloa is a board member with the D.C. Latino Caucus. Along with other groups, they've lobbied for a bill like this for years. It's estimated the bill would grant more than 50,000 people the right to vote.
Non-citizens live here, they pay taxes, they contribute to the economy and our way of life here. But yet, the taxes that they pay decisions are being made on that money, and yet they have no say on it.
But some have expressed concerns. D.C. law only requires someone to live in the city 30 days before registering to vote. One council member pointed out that means migrants sent here by bus from Texas and Arizona could conceivably vote in city elections if they stay here 1 month.
They're saying that American citizenship has no value to it.
Marguerite Telford with the Center for Immigration Studies, which advocates for lower immigration levels in the U.S., says this is an especially bad idea in the nation's capital.
I also think it's very dangerous allowing all these residents who actually are foreign nationals, like in the Chinese embassy and the Russian embassy, allowing them voting in your elections.
The bill does say non-citizens should not register if they still claim the right to vote in another country, but it's unclear how that would be enforced.
So this is the bill the council passed. It will now head to D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser. She has not yet indicated whether or not she will sign it. If she does, Congress would review it before it could become law. I'm Tom Rousey reporting.
Well, non-citizen voting is already legal in a few Maryland precincts, most of which are in the D.C. area, Hyattsville, Mount Rainier, and Tacoma Park. They can only vote in municipal elections. An effort to pass a similar measure in College Park failed back in 2017.
Now be sure to check out the FOX45 voter guide for all of our reporting on the upcoming general election, plus full conversations with the candidates. Just click on the QR code to take you right there, or head to foxbaltimore.com/vote 2022.
Still ahead, President Biden claims there are signs of an economic turnaround, why he feels America can be back on track by the midterm elections, and why a move from the Fed might say otherwise.
And it was another very great day with temperatures in the upper 60s, but it gets cool again overnight. We're dropping to the upper 30s and low 40s, and that's all ahead of another warm day. I'll let you know how high temperatures get and what to expect for the rest of the weekend coming up in my full forecast.
Well, it's getting to be that time of year, the beautiful fall foliage across Maryland. These are just some of those stunning photos sent in by our viewers. Make sure that you're sharing your favorite fall photos at foxbaltimore.com/chime-in. And it was a beautiful day indeed, but it's going to get even better, right, says Jasmine.
Yeah, that's right. I think today was a very nice fall day, great for viewing those fall colors, but tomorrow, a little better, a little bit warmer, still with plenty of sunshine, so not much to complain about as we continue the weekend, but things change on Sunday. Right now, we sit at 47 with clear skies and a great view of M&T Bank Stadium in the background. It's nice and calm outside. Across the rest of the state, temperatures are mainly in the 40s, a few spots still in the 50s. However, these numbers will continue to drop overnight. Notice on the HD radar, we're nice and quiet, and we're going to stay that way overnight. We'll keep the mostly clear conditions as temperatures fall to the 30s and 40s. We are expecting lower numbers toward western Maryland, so the Frederick area, Gaithersburg could be looking at a frosty start to the morning. The rest of us, though, looking at those numbers in the 40s, still a little cool. But by the afternoon, high temperatures approach 70 degrees. Then we drop a little bit on Sunday. That's the next weather maker arriving. We do have the chance for a few showers, and that's a day when you will want to keep watch on the radar if you have any outdoor plans. After that, we stay mostly dry as we start the work week. Temperatures will be above average, and we're back to the 70s. Overnight, we stay mostly quiet, and we'll wake up to lots of sunshine tomorrow morning. Temperatures around 8 a.m. in the 40s and 50s. Then by the afternoon, high temperatures will reach the 60s and 70s, still with plenty of sunshine. Clouds will arrive by the night. We stay mostly dry until we get to the morning. We have the chance for a few showers. Now, this is mainly going to be for areas around Baltimore. A little bit farther west, you'll stay mostly dry. This is all because of a coastal system that's going to work its way up the coast. As we head into the afternoon, there's still that chance for a few stray showers, so if you'll be heading to the Ravens game, you may want the ponchos. Just make sure that you're keeping watch on the radar. 42 for the low temperature with cool and clear conditions. Then tomorrow, high temperatures reach 70 with plenty of sunshine. Great for going to a corn maze or a pumpkin patch. Then as we finish out the weekend on Sunday, those temperatures will drop slightly. 67 on Sunday with the chance for a few showers ahead of that next weather maker. We stay mostly dry on Monday. Temperatures are back to the 70s. 73 on Tuesday and again on Wednesday. We'll have more clouds on Wednesday, all ahead of a second weather maker. That arrives on Thursday, and we have another chance for showers. It doesn't look like the day will be a washout, but heading into the weekend, we stay mostly dry with temperatures around 70. Back to you.
Well, after a roller coaster week on Wall Street ends Friday on a high note, all three major indices jumped by more than 2%. This comes as the Fed is expected to increase interest rates by 0.75% yet again at November meetings, but signals it may slow down after. Now President Biden, with dwindling approval ratings due to inflation and the economy, is going on the attack.
If Republicans get their way, the deficit is going to soar. The tax burden is going to fall on the middle class.
In recent polling, the economy is the top priority for likely voters, and only 40% of those surveyed approve of President Biden's economic plan. Elon Musk is speaking up against reports that he plans on slashing Twitter staff by some 75% when he takes over the company. Reports of the plan were leaked yesterday, but Musk's camp saying those claims are false. Nothing will be finalized before he officially takes over. It's unclear when that $44 billion deal will go through. And you know, Halloween is coming up, and Six Flags America is gearing up for the holiday with Fright Fest. Be More lifestyle host Mark Clark got a preview of the event this morning. Check it out.
You know, it's Boo by day, Fright by night. So from opening until about 6 p.m., come in with the family, enjoy all of our live shows and entertainment, including magical acts, live entertainment that we have. You can roast marshmallows, you can go trick-or-treating, you can see shows, you can do pumpkin painting, enjoy a hayride. There's so much for the family. And then at night, the park transforms. Fire, fog, scary live entertainment where our dozens and dozens of ghouls come out in our 5 haunted attractions, our 4 scare zones in the park to terrorize our patrons for the evening.
Well, Fright Fest runs from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. tomorrow night, as well as next Thursday, Friday, and Saturday from 5 to 10 p.m. A mother says her kids are the latest victims of violence in schools. pushing for answers from school leaders as parents continue to call for student safety. Two of Lamar Jackson's top targets questionable for Sunday's game against the Browns. What Mark Andrews is saying about his status ahead of the AFC North showdown.
The Ravens are expected to be without running back J.K. Dobbins for an extended period of time. Adam Schefter of ESPN is reporting that Dobbins will undergo arthroscopic knee surgery next week, and he'll be sidelined for about 4 to 6 weeks after the procedure. Welcome into Sports Unlimited. Just when things were trending upward for J.K., he suffers yet another setback. And it's something you truly hate to see. Dobbins missed the entire 2021 season with a torn ACL, and he worked his way back to the football field. Dobbins, one of many players listed on the Friday injury report. Justice Hill, he's healthy, so that's a plus. Rashad Bateman, Justin Houston, Ben Cleveland, Morgan Moses, Marcus Peters, Pat Ricard, and Mark Andrews. They're all questionable, but don't expect Andrews to miss Sunday's game.
Yeah, it was just one of those things, talking with, the coaches and trainers, and obviously that's a hard field that we just played on, and, my body feels great right now. I'm ready to go.
Ready to go? The Orioles didn't finish the year the way they wanted to, but fans will remember the 2022 Birds for years to come. Two of their own are being recognized for their play during the regular season. Third baseman Ramon Arias and center fielder Cedric Mullins have both been named Gold Glove Award finalists for their respective positions. Manny Machado, he was the last O's player to win a Gold Glove back in 2015. The winners will be announced on November 1st. Coming up tonight, the celebration the Ravens have planned for Sunday's game against the Browns. Plus, two of the area's top programs meet on the gridiron. Which team came out on top? Riel?
All right, Rocco, new developments in the Marilyn Mosby case, why her legal team is trying to move the trial out of Baltimore, and why your team's request could backfire. A groundbreaking on a safe place for kids to have fun in Baltimore County, the impact it could have on the community. Well, Baltimore County leaders are breaking ground on a new recreation center in Rosedale. Check this out. The nearly 15,000 square foot building will open near McCormick Elementary School. The $7 million project will have all of the workings of a usual rec center with an added focus on esports.
Every community deserves to have fun, safe, and high-quality recreational opportunities that make our communities healthier and more connected.
The center in Rosedale will join 9 existing sites across Baltimore County.
Several shootings across the Baltimore area, why some argue that crime bills stalled in Annapolis could have made a difference. Marilyn Mosby's request to move her trial could backfire, the latest on her team's effort to take her legal battle out of Baltimore. The first death from monkeypox in a state, how health officials say you can protect yourself from the virus.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News Late Edition.
Good Friday evening. I'm Kai Jackson. Tonight, another twist ahead of the trial of City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby. She's pushing to have a change of venue. Fox 45's Jeff Abel has been following the potential fallout from this request and reports on how the trial progresses from here.
Well, after months of preparation, some legal experts tonight are predicting it will be a hard sell, convincing a federal judge to move this trial out of the city of Baltimore. The ink had barely dried on the indictment before Marilyn Mosby was demanding a speedy trial.
What I'm asking for is that I be tried right now.
Oh, we're pushing for trial.
Because I know that I'm innocent. So I'm ready to go to trial tomorrow.
In 70 days.
But now, more than 200 days later, Marilyn Mosby has yet to stand trial. A flurry of motions has twice postponed the trial. And now Mosby's defense team is asking the trial be moved out of Baltimore altogether.
Is it strategic? Certainly it's strategic.
Mosby's request for a change of venue is still under seal. It's unclear why her defense team wants to move the case out of Baltimore. But previously, her defense team has argued that local media coverage has already prejudiced potential jurors, even though the state's attorney has appeared on national media discussing the case.
To turn around and say, well, the media is not giving me a fair trial when you're the one that's seeking all the publicity is a very, very hard uphill battle.
It's unclear where Mosby's defense team wants the trial to be held. If the federal judge agrees that she can't receive a fair trial in Baltimore, it could be moved out of state or to Maryland's only other federal courthouse in Greenbelt.
Most of the jurors very likely will come from Prince George's County, people of color. So perhaps her defense team may believe they'll get a more favorable jury pool in the Southern District of Maryland.
I don't know that she's necessarily going to get a jury that's more favorable to her. They certainly would not be as familiar with the facts of the case.
While the court waits to hear from prosecutors, it's the federal judge who will have the final say.
To think that Ms. Mosby's team would like to leave this court, this judge, given that this judge has been very fair from what we can see publicly to both sides. So it's certainly a gamble.
Prosecutors have 2 more weeks to respond to this request. As it stands now, the trial still set to begin March 27th here in Baltimore's federal courthouse. Jeff Abel, Fox 45 News.
A surge in violent crime across Baltimore today. 6 shootings happened, all taking place within a matter of hours. Of the 6 shootings we know of, 2 were deadly. They began just after 9 o'clock this morning. The most recent happened in Northwest Baltimore at 6 o'clock. Tonight, it claimed the life of a 29-year-old man. Earlier in the afternoon, this was the scene of the first deadly shooting on North Calhoun Street in the Sandtown Winchester neighborhood. Officers say they found a man inside a car who'd been shot multiple times. He was rushed to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. And this is the scene from Greenspring Avenue, north of Druid Hill Park. A crash happened, and this car is riddled with bullets. Police say the driver survived despite being shot multiple times. Well, the violence started this morning when a case of reported shoplifting turned into a shooting at a CVS in Harbor East. Investigators say a security guard was confronting a man when that man reportedly pulled out a syringe and tried to stab the guard. Police say the guard responded by firing, shooting the suspect in the face. Tonight, that man is in critical condition. Neighbors say the incident makes them feel unsafe.
I live right around the block, so it makes you worried.
That
just instills fear that's already in the community. I come to the Harvard East because this is the fancy one, like I said. And so now I'm like, oh God, really?
Baltimore City is on pace to see its 8th straight year of more than 300 people killed. This year, the city has seen 275 homicides. That's up from 268 this time last year. At least 591 people have been shot and survived. That's up 12 from 2021. Anyone with information in any of these cases is asked to call city police or Metro Crime Stoppers. A new Harvard-Harris poll finds 64% of Americans say, quote, woke politicians and policies are to blame for rising crime. Over the years, the governor's crime bills focusing on stricter sentencing have been blocked. Maxine Stryker is looking into the impacts of those decisions.
I don't think there's any doubt that politics has made its way into the criminal justice system on so many levels.
Maryland has struggled for years to pass laws some would bill tough on crime. The legislation routinely receiving pushback in Annapolis. Republican Senator Bob Castle told us earlier this year the tug of war between those looking to be tough on crime and those not is only growing more contentious. The Violent Firearms Offender Act, aimed to crack down on criminals who use guns, has been introduced several times without success, failing to become law again this year.
Really, for the last couple of years, everything's been at a standstill.
Political analyst John Deedy says the legislation introduced by Governor Larry Hogan may never have stood a chance with lawmakers at ideological odds.
In many ways, in Annapolis, it became more of a political battle. Okay, if the governor wants these things, we know what we don't want, and it's the things the governor wants.
Then there was the repeal of the Law Enforcement Officers' Bill of Rights. Democratic lawmakers overrode Governor Larry Hogan's veto to enact significant police reforms, including upping the civil liability police officers can face in lawsuits and raising the penalty for use of excessive force. Harford County Sheriff Jeffrey Gaylor said it sets a dangerous precedent.
To be clear, no one wants bad police officers on their force or on our streets. To be equally as clear, the processes, tools, and laws already exist to allow police leadership to fire those officers who should not be in service to our communities. Stripping away a proven due process system is not police reform.
Betsy Smith with the National Police Association says woke politics have led to the vilification of law enforcement.
As the state continues to see record violent crime, the attacks on law enforcement in the legislature and throughout the state continue to be increasingly frustrating for law enforcement.
And Smith says communities are suffering as a result.
You know who's paying for it? It's the people of the state of Maryland who are paying for it.
We reached out to all of the members of Baltimore City's delegation, where homicides are on pace to pass 300 for another year, asking, do you think you've held criminals accountable or emboldened criminals with legislation you have or have not supported in the past? How do you plan to address crime and the rising homicide numbers in Baltimore City in the next session? And do you think it will take a tougher approach to address the crime crisis? Deedy says it's time our elected leaders wake up and focus on what's really important.
A lot of times the people in Annapolis have worried about the silly things, such as worrying about, let's deal with the crime issue by dealing with strippers on the block, instead of focusing on something like, oh, there's a problem with guns or there's a problem with other aspects of public safety. We need more, police on the ground. We need to do a better job of focusing on enforcing law enforcement.
Maxine Stryker, Fox 45 News.
That brings us to our question of the day. Do you blame what some call woke politicians for the rise in recent crime? So far, 95% of those who voted say yes. Go to foxbaltimore.com/vote to make your voice heard. She's scared to send her kids back to school. A mother's concerns after she says her video shows her young children being beaten. And a new push to fix a massive infrastructure failure in Baltimore. What's next for the city's highway to nowhere? Here's a look at today's top trending stories. Number one, a redevelopment plan for Baltimore's so-called highway to nowhere. Maryland's congressional delegation is urging Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg to approve grants from the bipartisan infrastructure bill to redevelop a section of US 40. Now, the road runs from the West Baltimore MARC station to Green Street, but it was supposed to go all the way to I-70 in the 1970s. Nearly 1,000 homes in a predominantly black neighborhood were razed for the project that was never finished. Number two, the Maryland Department of Health is confirming the state's first monkeypox death. It's one of only 5 monkeypox-related deaths nationwide at this point. Health officials say the person was immunocompromised, resulting in a more severe case. The death comes as the Maryland Health Department continues its push for people to get the monkeypox vaccine. State leaders say nearly 700 Marylanders have contracted the virus.
So I want to be clear, anyone can contract this disease. What we have seen in this particular outbreak here in the U.S. is that there are groups that are higher risk, specifically men who have sex with men. However, what we see with the CDC expanding their eligibility criteria.
Vaccines are available by appointment only. Those who have pre-registered will get an email from the city letting them know when they can access the clinic. If you'd like to register, go to health.baltimorecity.gov. Number three, police have identified the man wanted in the murder of Elaine Jackson, an MTA bus driver. This is the wanted poster of Leon Douglas Hill, who was accused of shooting and killing Jackson at the MTA Bush Division, the bus depot in southwest Baltimore, Tuesday night. Now, police are asking for the public's help. In fact, they're urging anyone who knows where he might be to let them know. We have his picture on foxbaltimore.com to share it. Number four, police in South Carolina arrest a man wanted for sex crimes in Baltimore County. The Georgetown County Sheriff's Office said they arrested 59-year-old Thomas James Brackett. Brackett is accused of committing sex crimes against a minor when he was a teacher and youth pastor at Tabernacle Christian Church in Baltimore County in the 1980s. Brackett will remain in the Georgetown County Detention Center until he's extradited. 2 children dragged and beaten. A mother is now calling for change, the latest in a series of fights at schools.
And we are looking at another very nice day tomorrow. Temperatures start off at 47 around 8 a.m. Then we reach the 60s and 70s by the afternoon, but those temperatures will fall on Sunday and rain enters the picture. I'll break down the timing of the rain and what to expect for the weekend coming up in my full forecast.
Tonight, a mother speaks out after video emerges purportedly taken outside of a Baltimore County elementary school. The mother says it shows her 5-year-old daughter being attacked. Fox 45's Real Creighton has the story.
Silent but vicious videos surfacing on social media. A mother telling us by phone those are her daughters, just 5 and 11 years old, being dragged and beaten.
Grabbed her by her hair and threw her down and started beating her head in.
Kayla Shiflett says her 11-year-old suffered a mild concussion. Her 5-year-old pushed to the ground in an unprovoked attack by 2 girls who both attend different schools, one of them in middle school, the other high school. Shiflett says who showed up to her kindergartner's building, Grange Elementary, 2 weeks ago. Her children both beaten and humiliated.
Every kid in the middle school knew about it the next day because they videoed it, posted on Instagram and TikTok. Any kid can go to any school and just beat up anybody and nothing can be done.
A mother outraged, believing this is part of a pattern of ongoing fighting happening in county schools. She says she was told by administrators due to privacy, any disciplinary action taken against the girls who assaulted her daughters can't be revealed.
We are taking action.
Baltimore County Superintendent Dr. Darrell Williams, along with other top education officials, holding a town hall earlier this month to discuss the steps they say they have taken to combat violence and refute claims students are not being disciplined.
The fact that I couldn't protect her or be that person and make sure she was okay, and that it's just not fair.
Shiflett says she wants to know exactly how the kids who beat up her little girls will be held accountable.
I want justice for my daughter. I want her to feel like she's safe.
It was Real Creighton reporting. Violence has plagued some Maryland schools as the school year started this year. A student was shot and killed at Merville High School in Baltimore City during dismissal after the first week of classes. A student at another school was arrested. Also at Merville, a parent was arrested after police say that parent got into a fight with students inside the school. The parent allegedly was let in through an unauthorized door by their child. Early this month, in Timonium, a concerned mother came to Fox 45 News saying her daughter was beaten up by a group of students. The mother didn't want video or her identity shared for fear of retaliation against her daughter. You can join our next Your Voice, Your Future town hall. You can attend Huber Memorial Church on Lockraven Boulevard. It happens on Monday, October 24th at 6:30 p.m. The subject revolves around people and crime, young people in crime, and whether the answer lies in the church.
After a nice day with temperatures in the upper 60s, we are starting to see the numbers fall. 44 for the current temperature over Baltimore with clear skies and calm winds. Across the rest of the state, those temperatures in the 40s, a couple spots in the 50s. Westminster, Annapolis, 2 of the higher spots on the map, but we have clear skies around the state, and those clear skies mean quickly plummeting temperatures. Notice on the HD radar, not much happening around the region. We've got high pressure off the coast working to keep us nice and dry, and also high pressure starting to enter in from the south. So we have another nice and sunny day tomorrow. First overnight, temperatures fall to the 30s and the 40s. Areas west of the city could be waking up to frosty conditions. Otherwise, expect a nice warm up by the afternoon. Temperatures reach the 60s and the 70s for most of us with mostly sunny skies. Enjoy the weather tomorrow because on Sunday we do have a change coming with rain. Overnight, skies stay mostly clear. We'll wake up around 8 a.m. to temperatures in the 40s and 50s. Then by the afternoon, expect plenty of sunshine around the state as those temperatures approach 70. More clouds will move in overnight, and this is all ahead of that next weather maker. But notice we do stay mostly dry for Sunday night or Saturday night. It's Sunday morning when we do have that chance for a few showers. That could start your day. So if you have any plans to be outside, just keep watch on the radar. We keep the clouds into the afternoon, and there still is that chance for a few stray showers. So if you have plans to be outside, make sure that you are prepared for the rain. 42 for the low temperature with clear skies and winds out of the south around 5 miles per hour. Then tomorrow, it looks great for a trip to a corn maze, a pumpkin patch, apple orchard. Wherever you're going outside looks great. 55 around 10 a.m. Then by the afternoon, temperatures reach 70. We have plenty of sunshine. And then overnight, those temperatures do begin to drop. As we head into Sunday, temperatures will reach 67. That's the next chance for a few showers. If you're heading to the Ravens game, we could be dealing with a little bit of drizzle. Make sure that you have the rain gear. And again, keep watch on the radar before you head outside. 72 and mostly dry on Monday. 73 on Tuesday and Wednesday. We have more clouds arriving on Wednesday ahead of the next weather maker. That comes on Thursday. Temperatures will be around 72 with a few showers, but we stay mostly dry entering the weekend with temperatures around 70. Back to you.
Thank you, Jasmine. In Vote 2022, some local jurisdictions are desperately trying to find poll workers. Baltimore City and Baltimore County are hiring election judges. The county is advertising it as an opportunity to earn extra cash, while the city is about 1,000 election judges short. The city is offering to pay workers between $200 and $275 to work the polls.
Election judges have been hard to recruit ever since the pandemic. We are still hard at work trying to recruit judges. We are still training judges. We do the very best that we can with what we have in our hand to work with.
The city is also struggling to train election workers. The election director says 60 people were scheduled to come in for training Wednesday. Only 10 showed up. Be sure to check out the Fox 45 voter guide for all of our reporting on the upcoming general election. Use your phone's camera to scan the QR code and take you straight there, or head to foxbaltimore.com/vote2022.
The pandemic moving doctors' visits from in-person to online. I'm Angela Brown in Washington, D.C. The changes that could impact where you can receive care from the comfort of your own home.
Telemedicine services exploded during the pandemic, but one perk may be going away in some states. The National Desk, Angela Brown, explains.
Several states are ending their COVID emergency declarations or have ended those declarations, pausing one perk that allows patients to see doctors across state lines through video visits.
My video visit with Dr. Dodds, the same way she connected with her patients early pandemic.
At the time that we were shut down,
It was every patient.
Dr. Dodd's an associate professor of nursing at Cedarville University, now down to 2 or 3 virtual sessions per day as a family nurse practitioner. But if her patients go on vacation out of state, she may not be their first call because she practices in Ohio.
We cannot do telehealth visits across state lines.
The Federation of State Medical Boards just releasing this update. Nearly 40 states and Washington, D.C. have ended emergency declarations, making it easier for doctors to use video visits to see patients in another state. Paul Siegert, managing partner at PCS Advisors.
So some of these states that are ending it are saying, well, we'll allow it to continue for continuity of care if you already started with a physician across state lines, but not for new stuff.
Other providers are ending the option altogether, regardless of patients started care.
Most of them are shutting down their telehealth availability across state lines because it's too much to keep up with.
But telemedicine is not going away. In fact, Dr. Dodd says it will only get bigger.
I really see telemedicine right now exploding in the psych mental health fields because it's easy to do a visit and follow up on medication.
A June report from Payments, a business and economy website, says in May, 26% of U.S. patients sought telemedicine and remote counseling services compared to 21% in November of 2021. In Washington, D.C., I'm Angela Brown.
Pfizer will charge between $110 and $130 per dose of its COVID vaccine after the government stops buying shots. Pfizer says the cost probably won't affect people with private health insurance or some kind of coverage. Well, the Affordable Care Act requires insurers to cover many recommended vaccines without charging out-of-pocket expenses. Nick Chubb leads the Browns offense into Sunday, into that showdown in Charm City. How the Ravens plan to slow him down for the second straight year.
This Fox 45 News segment is sponsored by BCSBN, the Black College Sports Broadcasting Network.
Where were you when the Ravens won Super Bowl 47? Maybe you were at the game, maybe you watched from the comfort of your couch. But Ravens fans, you remember the celebration that followed. First, the one from the Big Easy, confetti falling from the roof of the Superdome while the team held the Lombardi Trophy high. Then, the parade that followed. Well, you can relive history this Sunday when the Ravens host the Browns. Over 50 members of that very team will be in the house to celebrate that 10-year anniversary of the franchise's second title. They'll be honored before the game. Then Ed Reed, Ray Lewis, and Ozzie Newsome will all address the crowd at half. Only 2 players from that team are currently on the Ravens roster, kicker Justin Tucker and linebacker Josh Bynes.
It is crazy, you know, because you go through this process. You've been in this league as long as I've been in, Tuck has been in, and you just go on a year, attacking each year, you know, trying to ultimately win a Super Bowl. And to, you know, obviously 10 years later, still be here and be on this team is it's just a blessing in itself. And it just, you know, I just can't wait, like I said, to see the guys on Sunday.
So while the Ravens celebrate the 10-year anniversary of the Super Bowl team, the current squad hopes to also celebrate a win. And that all starts with slowing down the NFL's leading rusher, Nick Chubb. That's someone the Ravens held in check in both games they played the Browns in 2021.
I'm sure they're looking at we look at all the games against them in the last few years, and they look at all the games against us in the last few years. That's how you do it. But I'm sure they understand that too, and they'll be very determined to make a statement in the run game. I mean, they always are. That's their personality as an offense, and and they're strong. It's something they're really good at.
I got the best two combo running backs in the league, and Chubbs and Hunt, and obviously they each have their own thing that they're special at. They're super hard to tackle. They're fast. They can catch. It's going to be a tough task as always, but we up for it, and that's what the AFC North is all about.
Big-time Friday night showdown at Calvert Hall. Just an electric atmosphere as the Cardinals played host to Mount St. Joe. Calvert Hall down 14-7. Defense bringing the heat. Emil Doer kicks the door down. He's in there for the big-time sack. Cardinals looking to get something going offensively. Noah Brannick rolls to his right, avoids the pressure, and finds Chris Hewitt for the big pickup on the play. Calvert Hall's drive would stall. Mount St. Joe's drive would not. Bryce Cox on the toss, cuts inside, and he will not be denied. Gales get the win. 33-22, the final score. Another week of HBCU football on CW Baltimore. Last weekend's matchup went to overtime with Virginia Union edging out Bowie State. This Saturday, beginning at 11 a.m., Black College Sports Broadcast Network will bring you Virginia Union at Lincoln. It should be another great one.
They got a young quarterback named Freeman, a freshman. Keep an eye on him. He could very much be the CIAA Offensive Rookie of the Year, I think. He's pretty good. And at Virginia Union, I mean, what can you say? Number 11 or 12, depending on the poll, team in the country, 7-0, 5-0 in CIAA play. Won a huge game. I hate to talk about it, but a huge game in overtime against Bowie State last week that you guys had. And most people would think that they're definitely in the driver's seat to win the CIAA North.
Well, that's it for this edition of Sports Unlimited. I'm Rocco DeSangro. Thanks for watching, and have a great night.